Hello everyone. In our previous lecture, we had discussed about the cell biology. Okay. In this lecture, we will have a look on some more topics of the cell biology, and also we will have some basic introduction of the genetics. Okay. So let's start. So first topic which we have to discuss in the cell biology is the cell cycle. And what is the importance of cell cycle and what do you mean by cell cycle? So basically, we could understand it through cell theory. Through cell theory. I hope you remember the cell theory which was given by Kilden and Seven. Okay. You can recheck the spellings. It was Kilden and the Seven. So these were the people who gave the cell theory. And what was the cell theory? That every organism composed of cell. Second one, every organism made up of cell. Third one was every cell is formed from previous cell. And the last one was every organism start the life from single cell. So that was a cell theory. Now the question is, what is about the cell cycle and how the cell cycle is related with the cell theory? So the answer is it 2 points. These points are basically connected with the cell cycle. How? Let's start. Let's start the discussion. Remember, I have told you, or basically you can say the cell theory told you that every organism, like this is an organism, like the person, okay, every organism starts its life from single cell. Okay, so that was the basic theory which we had. Okay, so this person also started a life from the single cell as per the theory. Okay, so basically, if there was only one single cell, and we know in every healthy adult there are about 75 trillion cells. 75 trillion cells in the normal human body. Okay, so how does these cells reach the number of 75 trillion from only one cell? So most probably there will be some cycle, like that cell is giving life to some other cells, and there is the process which was in continuous process. So that's why the cell reached the 75 trillion number. Okay, so first point which we have discussed from the theory is that every individual who started his life from a single cell, then his cell must be copying from one to another, and this point is given by the point that every cell generated from previous cell. From previous cell. So you can say that this is a cell, then it generates some new cell, then it generates some new cell. So when cell is new, then it's get old, so it form new one. Similarly, it was new, then it's called old, then they form new one. So this is the process which was in continuation. Got it? And this process is basically known as the cell cycle. Okay, and why it is called the cycle? Why it is called the cycle? Have you ever seen a cycle like this one? This is your seat, this is your tire, and this is your handle. Okay. So in this cycle, we have to focus on this part, which is a wheel part. So basically, wheel is in rotation. It means it is a complete cycle. It is a repetition. Similarly, these things applicable in this part. There is cell, it getting old, getting new part as a cell. Then this new part is getting old. Okay. Then form new part. Then it's getting into cell. So there is a complete cycle. Got it? Which is known as a cell cycle. Okay. Basically, there are various interface, and the main phase are known as G1, S, and G2. You can just write down interface G1, S, G2. They are not so important from the examination point of view. They are basically come in the higher studies, but for your knowledge, for your reference, you can write it down. Okay. The main thing which needed is mitosis and the meiosis. They are the main thing, okay, which we need to discuss and which we need to understand in this chapter. So our entire decision will be depend on meiosis and the mitosis. Okay. And this whole process involves DNA replication and preparation for the division. Okay. So let's start. Basically, let me tell you what is about the chromosomes. When we will discuss about the DNA and RNA in our upcoming lectures in detail form, then we will have a discussion in detail over chromosomes. Till then, just remember, chromosome basically responsible to give genetic code from one generation to another. Okay, we will have a discussion over genetic code in the genetics part. Till then, just remember, genetic code is basically the coding of your body. Okay, why you having only two hands and having two legs? Why you are looking so similar to your parents? Why we are looking so similar to the humans? Okay, so this is only because of the genetic code. So when this generation wants to develop new one, then how does the genetic code from this one transfer to that one, basically from the chromosomes? Chromosomes responsible for this genetic transformation. Got it? And how does it possible? Basically, chromosomes get itself divided during cell division containing DNA code, or you can say genetic information. Then transfer it to the new one or to the new cell. Okay, so basically chromosomes divided themselves in numbers, and each chromosome has a DNA code and basically genetic information. Okay, thereafter these divided chromosomes are in transportation from their parent, or you can say from the older cell to the newborn or to the newer cell. Okay, that's how the genetic information from that person is transferred to the newborn. Got it? So this is about the chromosomes. Okay. Now come to the mitosis and the meiosis part. So let's start. So first is our mitosis part. First is our mitosis part. Basically, mitosis happen in unicellular organisms. Okay, so there are basically two types of organisms. Organisms who are living creatures, and basically there are two types: unicellular, thereafter multicellular. Okay, unicellular only having single cell. Okay, multicellular are having multiple cells. So basically you can say they are organisms which are the living creatures existing on earth. Okay, and they are of two types: unicellular and the multicellular. Okay, unicellular organisms are those organisms which having only one cell. They are often called as single cell, whereas the multicellular organisms are those which having many cells and the multiple cells. Okay, so the mitosis basically occurs in the unicellular organisms which having only one cell. Okay, and it is the asexual reproduction. So what is asexual reproduction? To understand it, we need to understand asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay, so basically in asexual reproduction only one parent required, or we could understand it like tabular form. For asexual, thereafter for sexual. For asexual only one parent required. For sexual, two parents required. Second point, having low chances of variations. This is the one point. Second is having high chances of variations. Now the third point, it is the fastest form of reproduction. It is a not so fast form of reproduction. So basically there are two forms of reproduction, asexual and sexual. In a sexual form only single parent is required. Okay, only single parents required. So you can say this person can give right to the new one. There is no need for another parent. Okay, and it having low chances of variation because the DNA coding, or you can say the genetic variation of only one parent is applicable. Okay, only this person is contributing his DNA, only this person is contributing its genetic information to the new one. So there is very low chances of variations. Okay, third one, it is the fastest form of reproduction because there is no need for another parent, there is less chances of DNA variations, so it is the fastest form. Okay, and also you can say the asexual form can give high number of new ones at a time. Okay, in a sexual form, there are possibility that the parent can give high number of new ones at a time, at a single time. Okay, but in a sexual form or in the sexual form, it is not possible. So it can't give high number of new ones at a single times. Okay, now come to the sexual point. Come to the sexual point. In sexual point, there are two parents required. For example, for the human beings, there is requirement of two people. One should be male, another should be female. Okay, and you can also say that in sexual reproduction there is a gender. There is a gender. One should be male, another should be female. So basically, in sexual reproduction, only opposite gender can participate. Same plus same gender cannot give rise to the new one. It required opposite genders. One should be male and second should be female. So these female and male will come together to give a birth to the new one. Okay, and this new one could be male, could be female, depend upon the chromosomes pair. Okay, we will discuss it in the upcoming parts. Just remember, in sexual reproduction, we have taken the example of the human beings where a male and female come together to produce a new one, and the new one may be male or may be female depending upon the chromosome pair. Got it? Now, second point is having high chances of variations. Having high chances of variation. Why? Because in this scenario, the male and the female, the male and the female, they both are contributing to form a new one. Okay, just take an example. Suppose it is you. Okay, you and your family having different DNA, having different DNA. Whether as your husband, your future husband or your future wife, or your existed husband or existed wife may have different DNA from their family. Okay, but the new one, the new one who you will have the DNA or genetic code from both of you. So the new one which you will produce will have the genetic code from both of you. Okay, so because there are two different DNAs which are going to combine together in the new one, so there are high chances of variations. Okay, and the third point is that not so fast form of reproduction. It takes time to produce new one from the sexual reproduction. For example, in human, it is about 9 months. It takes 9 months to produce a new one. Got it? So it is about the sexual and the asexual reproduction. Got it? Now come to the mitosis. So basically the mitosis is a asexual reproduction. Okay, and now I hope you understand better what is asexual reproduction and what is a sexual reproduction. Okay, so mitosis is happened in the unicellular organisms and it is a asexual reproduction mode. Reproduction mode. Third point is the cell in mitosis divided into two new daughter cells. So basically the cell divided into two new, sorry, two new daughter cells. Okay. And remember one thing. These two new daughter cells will be genetically identical. Why? Because here is only one parent involving, only one type of DNA is being contributed. And when such thing is happening, so there is very less chances of getting variations in the new identical new ones. Okay, so that's why you can say the two new daughter cells which is formed by the already existed cell in the mitosis process may have the genetically identical daughter cells, because there is very low chances of genetical variations because of the asexual parent. Got it? Second thing which you need to remember is that chromosome pairs are equal to the parent form. Let me write down again the clear writing so that you can understand that chromosomes pairs are equal in number to the parent cell. So what does it imply? It basically implied that if this is a parent cell and it having two chromosomes, just an example, so daughter cells will also have the two chromosomes. So the chromosomes pairs are basically equal in number to the parent cell. The number of chromosomes held by the parent will be equal to the number of chromosomes held in by the daughter cells. And the fourth and the last point is, it is a first point, then it is a second point, it is a third point, it is a fourth point, and the fifth point basically states that it occurs in somatic cells. So basically the mitosis occurs in the somatic cells. Now what are the functions of the somatic cells? So basically these somatic cells are used for growth, repair, and reproduction. Okay, so basically the somatic cells contributed to the growth of organism, to repair the organs of the organisms, and to help the organisms to reproduce. So it basically happens in the somatic cells. So here we have finished about the mitosis. Okay, now let's have a discussion over meiosis. Now we having meiosis. So basically meiosis is a sexual reproduction. Okay, so basically when you talk about the meiosis, then you are talking about the sexual reproduction. So first point is that. Second point, it generally happens in the multicellular organisms. It generally happens in the multicellular organisms. Okay. Third point, number of chromosomes are half to the number of parent cell. Okay. And the fourth point states that heavy meiosis generally give rise to tuber or cancer. So let's discuss these things. First is meiosis generally happen to the sexual reproduction or to the sexual cells. Okay. Second point is it is the multicellular organism process. So meiosis generally happens in the multicellular organisms. Third point is says that number of chromosomes are half to the number of parent cell. So basically you can say if this is the parent cell, then it will give rise to the fourth. Just remember, it is the fifth point. Parent cell divides into four daughter cells. Okay, it is another part. Like parent cells divides into four daughter cells. Means 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay. So suppose if the parent cell having the 4. Okay. Then the daughter cells will having the only one chromosome, or you can say two chromosomes. Basically just an example, it's just an example. Okay, it's not the exact figure, it's just an example so that you can understand it better. Okay, so basically here the third point states that the number of chromosomes are half to the number of parent cell. Whatever the number of chromosomes held in by the parent cell, like here is a 4, the daughter cells will have only half number. So half of 4 is equal to 2. So here each daughter cell will have only 2 chromosomes. Got it? And remember, in the mitosis, the parent cell is divided into 2 daughter cells. Same in meiosis, the parent cell will divide it but into 4 daughter cells. Got it? So it is about the meiosis and the mitosis. Okay? So we have discussed the basic part of meiosis and mitosis. But here is one point which we should learn is that heavy meiosis generally gives rise to the tumor and cancer. What does it mean? It means that if meiosis occurs at rapid rate, that generally there will be unwanted cell rise due to cell divisions. Okay, basically meiosis is a phenomenon of cell division. Got it? So suppose if the cells are divided into huge numbers, okay, your body requires only 40 cells but it having 400 cells. So the axis of 360 cells, what is the use of these cells? So these cells will start blocking the passage of body. Okay, they will start blocking the passage of the body and you will experience the tumor and the cancer inside the body. So basically you can say the cancer and tumor are generally happens because of the heavy meiosis process. Got it? Now let's move forward. Significance of the cell biology. It is a central to understanding health, disease, genetics and evolution. Health, we have discussed about the consequences of heavy meiosis. Diseases, like if your meiosis is uncontrollable, you will have a diseases like the tumor and cancer. Genetics basically depend upon your DNA coding, and evolution, as we have told, that every individual start with a single cell and then ended with the 75 trillion cells normally in the human body. Okay, advances in cell research have led to the medical breakthrough, including understanding cancer and developing targeted therapies. Okay, cell culture is basically used for making various cell structure or making various cell tissues by using cells from different areas, which is basically used for the medical research. Now just take an example of the genetics, just introduction. We will start it in the next lecture in depth. Basically, genetics is generally the study of genes. It's basically the study of genes